Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansacharoramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansacharoramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samarprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansacharoramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru.
Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kansacharoramardhanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadguru.
Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha.
Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha.
Gurura Brahma Gurura Vishnu Gurura Deva Maheshwara Gurura Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Deva Maheshwara Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha.
Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha.
Gurura Brahma Gurura Vishnu Gurura Deva Maheshwara Gurura Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha.
Ya Devi Sarvabhuteshu Shakti Rupena Sanstita Namastasyai 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 Namo Namaha.
Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat.
Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat.
Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yo Nah Prachodayat.
Om Bhurbhuvah Swaha Tatsaviturvarenyam भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्
ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्
ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्
ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्
ॐ भूर्भुवस्वः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्
पवनतनय सङ्कटहरण
मंगलमूर्ति रूप राम लखन सीता सहित हृदय बसो सुरभूप सियावर रामचंद्र की जय रघुवीर रामचंद्र की जय पवन सुत हनुमान की जय उमापति महादेव की जय बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय
That was so beautiful. So beautiful. Thank you so much to our beloved Upen Bhai for joining us from London, the beautiful Lodia family, our Parmarth Parivar. So happy that this gift of technology enables us all to come together in this way. Thank you so much for opening Satsang with such love and such good. Sevanandaji, you're muted.
There, sorry about that. I was just going to say thanks to the technology that you just mentioned, we're able to do this. And it's such an absolute blessing in this time to have your wisdom and to have your inspiring insights. So many people I know benefit from them, and I'm just so grateful that we're able to do it. So we have a question for you that's come in advance. We're wondering how one can expedite their longing and hunger for true liberation and freedom so that it's greater than their hankering for distractions and ego identity.
Great. The way to do that, the way to really increase the longing for God, the longing for devotion, the longing for spiritual connection, such that, as you say, it becomes more than this longing and hankering for distractions. The way to do that is through this process of what we call gyan, wisdom, introspection. Because the moment you apply even a little bit of truth, you know that all of these distractions aren't actually getting you anywhere. We are only able to operate on subconscious programming as long as we're not conscious. So if I see a commercial and the commercial is telling me that I need a new brand of soap because the people in the commercial are so happy. And they do a commercial in such a way that it makes me feel like every problem in my life will be solved. if I just change my brand of soap, right? Now, that works. And I'm going to be one of those click-through people. I'm going to click on that and go right to buy the new brand. Only if I am not conscious in that moment. The moment I actually am conscious and aware, I would laugh before I would change my brand of soap to become happy. I would laugh before I would buy a new pair of jeans, a new handbag, a new mobile phone, simply because the commercial convinced me that I would be happier if I did. That somehow that emptiness would be filled if I just had this new item. They work only because we are operating unconsciously. Because when we speak about these things, when we speak about it in satsang, we laugh. When you study it in classes on the psychology of persuasion, you learn how these companies try to convince you. What are their selling techniques to try to convince you? You laugh and you think, oh, I would never do that. I'm so much smarter than that. And yet, advertising is a multi-billion-dollar industry because it works. But it works only because we are unconscious. And so the solution is very simple. That doesn't mean it's easy, because our tendency tends to be to slip into subconscious programming, to slip into autopilot in our behaviors, in our thoughts. And so we allow ourselves to not be present. But the moment we realize, oh my God, I've just spent 15 minutes or 20 minutes or 4 hours, whatever the case may be, scrolling my social media feed, or I've just spent this much time watching this show on TV that neither is inspiring or uplifting or educational, nor is actually even enjoyable. It's not filling me with some kind of actual joy or peace. Not even getting good laughs out of it. Total waste of time. And the minute that we are actually aware, we are able to change. And so if we look at the way that we spend our days, the way we spend our money, and you ask yourself, is this distraction? Is this TV that I'm watching? Is this scrolling of social media feed? Is this gossiping? Is this longing for this or that? Hankering over things I don't have? Complaining, either out loud or in my own mind? Daydreaming. But again, not in such a way that it's either inspiring or the soil for creativity, but just as kind of this, oh, I wish I were. Why am I not? Why are those people? That type of aimless wandering of the mind. So much of our time is spent, if you add up all our time that is spent in these activities, longing for something, trying to get it, trying to make enough money so you can buy it, so that then you can be happy. feeling miserable that you don't yet have it, commiserating with others who also feel miserable, joining chat rooms so that you can commiserate together about why the universe is not acting according to how you want it. All of these things that they don't bring any inspiration to you, any upliftment to you. They are not of any service to the world. They're not bringing you closer and deeper on your spiritual path. They're not changing anything in the world. So we may be disgruntled about something, but we're not actually changing it through our complaining or grumbling or grudges or commiserating with others who are also grumbling about it. I'm all for action. I'm all for change. But that is very different from the distraction of dissatisfaction. So apply jnana, apply wisdom. Are these moments that I am spending in service of my Dharma, my path, my awakening, my opportunity as this tool in God's hands, myself as a vehicle, a vessel to bring inspiration, healing to others? And if not, then ask yourself, so why in the world do I keep doing it? You wouldn't take money and just throw it off of your balcony into a ditch that you would never get it back from. You understand this money is precious. I've worked to earn it. We understand our health is so precious. Well, our time and our energy is equally precious. And so when you realize that you've been squandering it, you need to really ask yourself, why? Why is it that I think that I somehow don't deserve to spend my time more in service, more inspired, more deeply connected? Why is it that I'm looking to simply distract myself from the present moment? Why do I think that's the very best that I can do rather than change my present moment? So ask yourselves these questions. That's what Jnana Yoga is. And when you ask, answers will emerge, and out of those answers, change will emerge. Sevanandaji, you're muted again.
Good Lord, this technology, I tell you. We have a wonderful guest that would like to ask a question. Prashant, go ahead, please. Prashant, go ahead.
Yeah, Pranam Sadhviji.
Pranam.
So, as an academic, you were specializing in psychology. Am I right? So, did you find any references to consciousness and the heightened states of consciousness that one can experience during meditation and spiritual practice? Or is psychology confined to simple, human thought and emotion alone? And do you think that an interaction between psychologists and, say, a spiritual master like you can enhance the science itself to, include other, to expand its entire scope and also help in treating people?
Yes, beautiful, beautiful question. So there are fields of psychology that are very rooted in consciousness, in yoga, That was not the field of psychology I was studying, though, sadly. I always say, I wish God had given me sort of a heads up earlier in my life that this was the path I was going to take. I would have studied different things. I would have, lived earlier years more in preparation for these years. But we don't get that kind of head start or heads up in advance. And so I was doing a very traditional, very academic based psychology program that was really rooted in your very traditional schools of psychology. So we studied psychodynamic psychology. We studied cognitive behavioral psychology. You study the main, very traditional streams of psychology. We studied a lot about what made the mind work the way the mind works. So, of course, by different theories and different psychologists about that, but from within the framework of the very traditional schools and lineages of psychology. And it's really, in my mind, very sad because psychology is wonderful. Even the traditional schools of psychology are wonderful. There's a lot that psychodynamic psychology, that cognitive behavior psychology, that so many different types of psychology really can offer us in understanding aspects of our mind, in understanding very simple and easy ways to change our behavior, to change our cognition. And yet, it's also really, really limited. Because as you mentioned, it functions only on the level of patterns of thought that have been created in this lifetime by parents, by circumstances. And it doesn't really dive into consciousness as we think about it. Philosophers like Freud, like Jung, absolutely spoke about consciousness. But the way that they spoke of consciousness, while very interesting and very helpful and very insightful in a lot of ways, is different from the way that we think about consciousness spiritually as something that is very separate from this physical existence, something that is very separate from the psyche or the psychological drama or my experiences in this particular lifetime. So I've said many, many times that I think coming together of spirituality and psychology is really what's needed, because spirituality in and of itself is a very full field. Unless you have very deep issues, neuroses, personality traits, patterns that are very, very deeply embedded in you, and particularly that come from your childhood, your parents, experiences that you had in childhood. And what psychology is very, very good at is helping you go down into that darkness to understand, why is there fear? Why is there anger? Why is there this pathology? Why am I so driven toward alcohol or drugs or other addictions? It really shows us that darkness. The dilemma is, it's not nearly as skilled at helping us turn into the light. And so a lot of times in psychology, we tend to get really mired in that darkness. And we're able to see where it comes from. We're able to see the challenges, the traumas, the difficulties, the patterns of sanskaras that were given to us. But we're not so able to see how to walk into the light. And spirituality really shows us how to become free in a way that certainly no school of psychology I ever studied spoke about. So yes, I do think that psychology and spirituality coming together is really key. And there's a lot of teachers, thinkers, authors who are doing this, doing it very, very beautifully. It's something that I absolutely try to do as much as possible, because the two fields balance each other very beautifully if we enable them to. And they give us a level of depth, of understanding why we are the way we are, how to think about that, both psychologically and spiritually, and then how to realize we are actually not that. Whatever happened in our childhood, whatever emotions we're having, whatever pathologies we're having, whatever neuroses we're having, we are not them. We are divinity. We are love. We are consciousness. And spirituality brings us into that and brings us into the light. So yes, thank you for the beautiful and insightful question, and for reminding all of us of the importance of bridging both.
That's one of the things that I think is so important about the work that you do. It's like Pujya Swamiji always so beautifully says, you're a beautiful bridge between the East and the West. And I think that includes being a beautiful bridge between the psychology and the spirituality, which I think is such a huge benefit to the planet. We have another question that was sent in advance. Since they are also divine, do animals and insects, plants and trees have dharma and karma?
Beautiful. Absolutely. Absolutely they do. Animals, plants have dharma and have karma. Where there is soul, there is that. Now, what there isn't in most cases is the awareness of that and the ability to consciously choose to follow one's dharma or to choose of anything about one's karmic package. But first we'll look at it from a dharma perspective. So the dharma, you could say, of water is to be wet. The dharma of an apple tree is to give apples. The dharma of a flower is to give fragrance. The dharma of the sun is to shine. So fortunately, they don't need lots of spiritual books and satsang and katha and all kinds of things to help them figure out their dharma. It's very automatic. It's the process of nature. We are the ones who get so confused. We are the ones who forget who we are, and therefore we forget how to live and what to do. And with regard to karma, again, there isn't so much a conscious engagement with their karmic package. But when you think about cycles of birth and death and reincarnation, we absolutely believe that at earlier times, we were plants, we were animals, and that we have evolved It's not just Darwinian evolution physically, but that we have actually evolved spiritually higher and higher in consciousness into this human existence. And what that means is that we must have had a karmic package when we were plants, trees, animals, because it's that same karmic package that as we have worked through it, as our consciousness has deepened, we have ultimately had this blessing of taking birth in human form. So they're not as conscious of that, but what they are conscious of, and it's worth mentioning here, is pain, especially animals, but not only animals. And it's for that that we commit ourselves to our Dharma, which is our universal Dharma, is living with the awareness that we are embodiments of the divine, living according to the principles of that, the principles of yoga, the yam and niyam. The first of which, of course, is ahimsa, nonviolence. And so, yes, all of the species experience pain, which means pain upon death, being killed for our benefit, but also pain in their life. When baby cows are pulled away from their mothers at birth, because dairy industries don't want, the baby cows to drink milk, because that milk is money. So they pull away the baby cows. And in far too many cases, those baby cows end up becoming veal. When we say tender veal cutlets, well, that's baby cow. But when the baby is pulled away from the mom cries, the baby cries. And that's long before either of them is killed for their meat. The chickens that are cramped up in these tiny, tiny, tiny little wire mesh cages, squished together, stacked one cage on top of the other, defecating on top of each other. They are experiencing pain. As we grow in our consciousness, as we expand in our consciousness, and we look at our Dharma and our karma, we start to recognize how interwoven our own Dharma is and our own karma is with the Dharma and the karma of all of the other beings with whom we share this beautiful planet. All of our sisters and brothers. When we say Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, it doesn't mean only human beings. It means all. And so we tread lightly, and, unfortunately we need to eat something. And so what we know is that plants feel less pain than animals simply because they don't have the nervous system. We know that they experience something. If you yell at a plant, it absolutely responds. They've been able to pick up electrical signals on a plant that change into what you can consider a plant's stress response if it gets yelled at. And plants grow better when they're sung to. But the nervous system is not developed the way that it is in animals. And so we choose to eat plants because it's less pain we're causing to the environment. But we also try to eat in a way that it doesn't necessarily destroy the plant. So it's not that we're cutting down fields, cutting down orchards of apple trees for apples. No. The trees keep standing. They give up their apples freely. But it also pertains to the clothing we wear, to the shampoo we use, to everything that we buy that is traced back to our human brothers and sisters working in factories, working in fields, but also to our plant and animal brothers and sisters, who in many cases, they are being used for our commodities. They are being harmed in the service of the production of what we buy, what we use. And the good news is that there's alternatives. There's non-violent alternatives to what you can buy. If you buy organic, if you buy fair trade, if you buy things that say no animal products, not tested on animals, not harming the environment, we have that power. So yes, they have their own Dharma and karma. And so do we. And it's so important for us to always anchor back into how can we most clearly and with the most consciousness and skill and attention and intention fulfill our Dharma and work through our karma in this lifetime. You are muted again.
Oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. See what happens when I go solo? So we've got another question sent in advance. What is the importance of the Rudraksha plant? I always see you giving them to people at RT.
So the Rudraksha plant is sacred because it is believed to be very, very, very sacred to Lord Shiva. So for that, it is a sacred plant. It is very auspicious. It is considered the tree, as I said, that is sacred to him, but the beads of which, the seeds of which become our malas. So the Rudraksha malas that we wear, that we do our japa mala on, that we practice our japa on, are Rudraksha. So it's very sacred for that. There's also, it's said, a lot of health benefits if you take Rudraksha beads, not the like polished kind, but the raw kind, and you soak them in water overnight and you drink the water in the morning. It's said to be very, very beneficial for your health. So there's a lot of real special benefits to the Rudraksha. For us, though, it's a double benefit and a double bonus. So the Rudraksha itself is sacred, and trees themselves are sacred. Life is sacred, and trees give life. They give us oxygen. They give us coolness. They absorb the carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. They also give us water. Trees actually produce water. So everything that we need for life is given by the trees. We've got this incredible relationship with trees. We exhale carbon dioxide. They inhale it, removing it from the atmosphere so that climate change, global warming can be less. They give us the water we need. They give us shade. They cool the environment. So life is sacred. And we are, with Puja Swamiji's vision and commitment and guidance and blessings, we are really committed and working very hard to keep this planet safe and healthy through awareness, through advocacy, through actual tree plantation. And so, you know, when you want to give a gift to someone, typically we tend to give gifts that harm the environment. So gifts made of plastic or gifts made of wood. And then they just sit on someone's shelf, or they stick them in a closet, or, you know, it's not meaningful in any way. Some memento that's just going to sit on a ledge somewhere. Instead of that, we give these saplings so that people can take them home and plant them and have this beautiful, beautiful memento, beautiful memory of their time on the banks of Ganga. But also remember the importance of trees so that they hopefully will keep planting more and more trees on their birthdays, on their anniversaries, on their weddings, on graduations, that they will keep doing that. And also it's a wonderful opportunity because so many people from all over the world watch it. And we hope that people will be inspired to gift trees, to plant trees. There's a beautiful quotation that says, it's too bad that trees don't give us Wi-Fi, because if they did, we would plant them everywhere. But unfortunately, they only give us oxygen, which we need to live. And I love that quotation because it's tragic. It's funny, but it's tragic of how absolutely warped our mental states have become. That if something gives us Wi-Fi, it's really valuable. We really want more and more and more of it. But when something gives us oxygen, we're all too ready to let it be cut down. And so we gift trees to get trees planted, but also to help people understand the importance of trees and to start a whole memento and campaign around gifting trees and planting trees. I hope you all have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening, a beautiful morning, a beautiful day, wherever you are in the world. And look forward to seeing you tomorrow on Instagram for our Sacred Sunday. That's at 8:30 India time, 8:30 in the evening, 8 o'clock in the morning in California. And to seeing you on Monday, this same time here on Facebook for our meditation. And next Tuesday, our next Satsang time will actually be very, very special because there's a very big announcement that we have to make, and we'll be making that announcement during this time next Tuesday. So have a beautiful, beautiful evening, morning, day, weekend, and so, so, so much love to you all.